And we are live.
The funniest part about like going live is when JD asks if I'm ready, and I can very easily say, "Give me like 5 seconds, and I'll be ready." But I lie and I say I am ready.
And that's why I asked multiple times. And even then, he still lies to me.
Yeah, right. You're lucky. Right, you're lying. Okay, I'm actually ready now. There you go. They bought the time. Hey everyone, it's Ultra Podcast Z. It's me, your boy Manuel. I don't know why I introduced myself like that. Sorry, like I actually went. Leader of Radio Connections. I blame Josh because Josh isn't here. He'll be here in a bit, in like probably about 15 minutes or so. But yeah, I'm and it's Anna. It's the second episode of Annie May 2025. Uh, and we have a special guest. It's Andrew, but not the. No wait, what does Warren say? It's Andrew,
Andrew, but not that Andrew.
There you go. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
It's Andrew month. It's not Anna month.
It's
Exactly, it's Andrew, bro. We need to find one more Andrew to have on next week.
And we're just gonna have other Andrew on next week.
Okay. It's Andrew, man.
So yes,
Yeah,
Andrew,
go
would you
ahead
like to
and
introduce
yourself,
yourself?
Yes. My name's Andrew. I go by Andy's Islands online. I'm, yes, a really person who's been on the internet for a really long time, doing lots of projects and kind of interesting things. So I'm here to hang out for a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, we have some interesting talks here. Uh, it's funny because I already kind of like let the cat out the bag because we were talking before we went live about some of the things. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe you have that kind of project. It sounds so cool. But we originally going to have you on because we're going to talk about like your efforts in preserving, manga, you know, author comments. First of all, actually, you describe it better because like I'm already like butchering this like crazy, and then we'll circle back around to some other things I wanted to say before we actually get really into it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I kind of just stumbled across it, but it actually had a lot of other projects that kind of built up to it. So it was not necessarily something that was like dive straight into this like big project here. It was more of like there were some other things that came into it beforehand. But in the back of weekly Shonen Jump issues in Japan, if you're on that magazine, there's the table of contents, which is really more of an index at the end of the volume, which says, hey, here's all the series that are in this issue. Here's the page numbers. Here's what's, articles and everything else. But they also include an author comment, which is basically a single line or maybe 2 lines of text that each author can write each week. And pretty much in Weekly Shonen Jump, they can say anything they want. There's no real topic on what they need to talk about. And those author comments are really kind of cool because you kind of get a little bit of an insight into what the author wants to talk about outside of the series they're drawing, which is always a really kind of cool little insight that you have there. And I happen to come across a significant collection of all of these pages from each individual Weekly Shonen Jump issue, in particular from 2004 to 2021. So a huge number of these. And I was like, oh, I have this huge number of things. This should really kind of get archived in a way that's, accessible for people to like read and see, because no one's going and buying decades worth of Weekly Shonen Jump issues that have all these kind of author comments, and kind of provides an interesting insight to like what was in those magazines. Because there's some websites that kind of like say, hey, here's like, this is when, Bleach was running, and here's where it is in the list. Like we can kind of get that information, but getting to that like author comment piece was like something really kind of unique. So I was like, okay, if I can acquire this set, now let me see if I can do something to digitize it and make it available for other people to read, and do other projects based on it. Because once you have that information, other people can say like, oh, I want to make some videos. I need to do some articles. I want a little bit more information about, the authors and the series that come out through. Having that kind of thing is kind of a cool like insight into Weekly Shonen Jump that you might not necessarily see from just reading the chapters.
Okay, so you have this collection? I'm confused.
Yes, I have the physical page cutouts from the issues. I acquired them.
Okay.
I imported them from Japan. There was an auction that had them all up, and I was like, fingers crossed that no one's gonna make me pay an arm and a leg for these. And then the shipping cost being more than the cost of all of them. So I have them all. So I have all of them. I'm going through the process of manually scanning each one of these pages in. So we have like
Oh my
full
gosh.
like 600 DPI, versions that can be, archived, and then going through and transcribing off every comment on the page, which if you start doing the math, the numbers get very big very quickly, because there's about 20 series per issue,
Yeah.
plus 3 to 4 editor comments, which also get forgotten. So was like, while I'm here, why don't I also do the editor comments? Um, and then you have about 45 issues a year, and then I have like 2 decades of issues. So
Well,
it's a pile of paper that I've been slowly working through that I acquired back in November 2023. And I've just been slowly digitizing each one of those and then doing the transcription, which will then eventually lead to getting a rough translation and then building off a database where you can just kind of like search by a title, search by an author, search by a comment. I want to know, you type in like cell phone, and you could see anytime an author made a comment about a cell phone, you can see
oh
when
my
that
god.
happened, which is really kind of interesting when you're going from 2004. You know, even back then, you could still get some things where someone said, "Oh, I finally got around to getting this like VHS tape." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like you're on that cusp there. It's like, that's still like maybe you should be getting a DVD, but it's kind of interesting. You'll be able to eventually see like the transitions in technology, even through that like time frame of like saying like, what are you talking about? Which always makes like the trying to like deciphering what these author comments are going to be is like very interesting because it could be anything. It's a whole, they could talk about their favorite restaurants. They can talk about the pop culture references. It's a real open, wide range of what things that could be talked about in those.
You mentioned that, and then I'm like in my head about technology and everything like that. But I'm like, but they're always gonna reference fax machines. It's like you get an issue from like 2020 or whatever. It's still like, yep, use the fax machine today. It's like, really, you didn't? Interesting. Yeah, I faxed over those pages that are due or whatever. It's interesting though. Like I can't. I mean, I imagine it's a huge pile of paper, but like at least you don't have the huge pile of issues. Like part of me was all like, "Oh, you have 20 years worth of Shonen Jump magazines." It's like I remember like when I was really young, I went to this library book sale at my local library, and I went there, and like I was super excited because I get there and I see an actual Japanese issue of Shonen Jump. I'm like, it's like 2000 or something like that. I'm like middle school, something like that. And I see it, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is so cool. I'm gonna get this one. Oh look, there's one more. Okay, I'm gonna get these. And I think that like I had known, I knew what Shonen Jump was. It's still a couple years before we got the English version, I think. But I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool, so cool. And then as I'm going through the whole library book sale, it's this really big room with this pretty big library. Um, I'm like, oh, there's more. There's a lot more. It was a whole corner. And yeah, it was a whole corner of the book sale. And it was like there was maybe about 100 or 200 of the magazines there. But even like that, I mean, you get 100 or 200 copies of like Game Pro, and I could put that in a stack, like not taller than me by probably pretty small, but like this was like tables and then like boxes underneath the tables, just a Shonen Jump, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like yeah, I don't want these anymore. like like the novelty's worn off. Um, But yeah, so you had me worried there for a minute. I'm like, in my head, I imagined you like one of those like you ever you ever watch like a Otaku no video or something like that? Like, imagine you in one of those houses where it's just like piles of manga. It's like there was a window in this room at one point, just manga off the wall. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
so I do have a lot of volumes of like of manga volumes and like DVDs and things. So like when I bought the house that I live in, I was like one of the criteria I was looking for was like I need to have a room that we can declare as the grand library.
We'll
Like
say a
it,
library.
I was like, you need to have. I was like, we need to have a room that can be the library. So we have lots of shelves full of all everything else. So a lot of other things was like, okay, what is shelf worthy and what is in pile in boxes? To be
Yeah.
saying like, all right, here's a whole bunch of papers. Like we have a lot of boxes full of paper products. So it definitely is one of those things where it's like, yeah, getting the actual volumes, which I still have quite a few, just like actual volumes, because I had to get them for other reasons, for other research pieces. So I was like, oh, I have a lot of those, and it is really fun just to always flip through any like imported magazine, especially if they're like older ones, just to get like the weird culture shock, and it's always a surprise to see what is inside an issue, like things that you don't expect. You're like, oh, I'm flipping through this issue of Weekly Shonen Jump. Suddenly, there's an article about wrestling. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no one would ever expect that, and no one would ever talk about it. But you're like, you flip through, it's like, that's really weird. Kind of cool, but weird. So yeah, it's always real fun to just like flip through those. So I always try to like, whenever there's especially for the younger generation who may not necessarily physically see these kind of things, it's always fun to bring out those issues and like old Shonen Jumps, even American ones, Japanese, whatever. And for people who've never seen them before, let them flip through and they like find like, what is all this? It's really cool.
I mean that's cool. I was thinking about the. I saw you gave us a doc that has some info on there, and you have your collections there, and I was like, man, I remember when I used to have a lot of physical manga, because going back to like my little story there, like I was of that age, like when I started having my own disposable income, it was like the height of like Tokyo Pop and everything like that, and like
Yep.
I remember I think I spent like almost all my first couple like paychecks like irresponsibly on like every manga I could get, and I also remember like going to like conventions back then. You could like, I don't know, maybe they were getting some wholesale deals or whatever, but I remember I used to get things like really, really cheap. And like I see like it's funny because like I stopped counting, and mind you, you don't know much about me yet, but like I've gone completely the opposite direction when it comes to physical media collecting as I get older. But like I stopped counting, but like around the mid 2000s or so, I had about 2000 manga, American, what do you call it, like books?
Oh,
I don't know
Yeah.
what the proper. Yeah, but I'm like, do you still call it that in English?
Volumes.
But yeah, I had over 2000. Like I remember there was a point when like it was getting so insane where I was all like, I think I have almost everything that Tokyo Pop released, like on accident. Oh, and then when Tokyo Pop went out of business, like you would go to conventions, they would have like all their things. They have like tables for like $1 each. Speaking of which, you probably would have loved that library book sale I mentioned, because those Shonen Jump magazines, if I'm not mistaken, were either 5 or 10 cents
nice.
for hundreds of like 90s era Japanese Shonen Jump. I imagine somebody was like had the house I described, but they were blocking their window, and they're like, yeah, I need to like downsize and get my window back. But also going back to your digitizing efforts, is there no like digital? I meant to look this up, but I did it. Is there no digital source for like all the collected Shonen Jumps, weekly Shonen Jumps are online?
So the like official digital releases of Weekly Shonen Jump came out. Oh, gosh, I guess there may be about 10 years ago or so. They started like doing like digital versions, but I mean, in Japan, it's like very much, hey, let's have paper copies, and digital was kind of like a new thing. So there's definitely good sources that like document like what is in Weekly Shonen Jump. So it's not like which series are there, but not necessarily the author comments You know what I mean? Like they have just like look at this thing like, okay, here's all the issues where that contain Death Note. Here's every issue that has One Piece. They have a lot of
Mhm.
those other ones, but as soon as you get away from like the big series, your Dragon Balls and everything else, like you can still get that information, but then the rest of it kind of drops off. You know what I mean? Like, okay,
Hello,
this.
I'm
Oh,
here.
sorry, Josh just got here. Let
Oh,
me get things set up for that.
I'll just being on voice so that way it doesn't mess
Oh,
with the screen setup so far.
all right. I have it set up
yeah,
quickly. I can change it in like a minute if you're ready.
we're talking about Josh's. I mean, Josh's. We're talking about
Andrew's.
Andrew's. By the way, it's Andrew, Josh, Andy, Josh, Andrew. We're talking about his efforts to preserve some very specific elements of the Weekly Shonen Jump canon archive, if you will. But yeah, so you were saying, sorry, I
Yeah.
forgot what you.
Yeah. So like,
Oh, so
there's a-
yeah.
Yeah, so you definitely can like figure out like, okay, here's what's in each issue, but as soon as you kind of get beyond that, it starts like the information starts dropping off. One because there's just so many issues, new issue every week, and people tend to only care about like the most recent stuff. You know what I mean? Going backwards in time is not necessarily projects like a lot of other people like have interest in. I of course do because I'm like, hey, I like these older things, so might as well just keep doing projects around these older things, not always have to try to keep up with the most recent and current, series and events, going back and reading some old stuff is always fun as well.
Do you read Japanese? Do you speak Japanese? Are you Japanese literate?
No. But
Okay.
but I have been at this game long enough, you know what I mean, to be
Yeah.
able to work my way through in what things that are written in Japanese. I was like, okay, I can definitely understand like if I were to use Google Translate or Deep L or any of those other things like to understand, okay, what comes out of that isn't 100% truthful,
Mhm.
it's like, and how to work with those systems to help guide things back to a percent. And it's also one of those things where those kind of services are a lot easier for things where you're just doing a sentence that is complete in a thought. When you try to
Yeah.
do anything narrative or anything like that, it's like, okay, this falls apart. You can't just say like, oh, I can use Google Translate and now I can read manga. It's like, no, you've lost through there. But if you're saying, hey, I'm pretty sure this this mangaka is like really wants to talk about I just got Blade Runner on DVD. I can work through, you know what I mean? Like you can work through what goes on. But that's also like where my portion of the doing the archiving is I'm getting the images scanned of like, see, here's all the pages. I'm transcribing it, so you have selectable text that you could say, here's the Japanese. So if you don't like my rough stab at like, here's what this says, I'm giving you all the material. Say, go create your own. You know what I mean? Like, you can come up with something better. I'm doing all the work for gathering the information. And if anybody else wants to really go at it and say, hey, I want to do something more with this, they'll have the access to do that. I'm like, and I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gatekeeping any of this information. It's stuff that if you put the time and effort into finding it, go for it. But I'm just cutting that out all for you. So just to throw it out there so that other people can do cool things with it that I might not even thought of.
Manga's a good way to learn Japanese, in my opinion. By the way, I mean I'm not Japanese fluent by any means, but like I remember when I've taken several years of Japanese in college, and of course I just I always joke about it, but like there was a period of my life when I was like going back and forth to Japan a lot, and I'm like that helped immensely just actually trying to use it. But I do remember when I was taking my first year of Japanese 1 and 2. My professor would have us read manga. And I remember I went through the whole Lost Universe manga. I think it's Lost Universe. The Slayers looking one, but in sci-fi.
Yep.
And I remember I read that entire. I think it's only like 4 or 5 volumes. I read the entire one because it was like in book offs, like dollar bin, American book off, dollar bin, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy these because they have all of them. And I read the whole thing in Japanese. And I remember like I was like, I wonder how accurate this is. But like I remember we had to do assignments. We had to like write up like, oh, this is the chapter synopsis, and I would do that, and the professor would be like, oh, actually they were talking about this, like your Japanese sucks, but no, it's a good tool, it's a good tool. But yeah, um I want to talk a bit about Shaman King. Yeah, it's interesting that Shaman King is like your favorite series media property. I have not thought of Shaman King in forever.
Yeah, it's Shaman King was the series that like I had like really like focused in on when I like started really diving into manga, and it was like that was the one that like opened me. I was like, oh, there's like some secret sauce to this stuff, and I was like, that was the series. And I got in on Shaman King pretty much when the first issue of the American Shonen Jump came out. And I got that issue. I borrowed it from a friend. I read that series. I was like, this is cool. This is great. And then I was like, I want to know more about this series. And then I just kind of like stuck with it all the way through, which is kind of unique for a lot of anime or manga fans, just to stick with a series for like over 2 decades of like constantly trying to figure out more information, looking up stuff, building off websites, and then just kind of learning everything I can about the series, as well as what the creator's other works were, and everything else for it. So I was like, I just really love that series, and like because of the series, like I met my wife because of it. So like there's nothing I can do to like abandon it now. You know what I mean? I'm in it for life.
Did
Uh,
Josh, to bring you into this a bit, because I know Josh had an interesting time like getting to the show at all. Do you remember Shaman King? Because to me, Shaman King was always. It's funny because you mentioned the first episode of Shonen Jump, the first volume of Shonen Jump English one. But to me, Shaman King was that series that was always trying to get like. There was a lot of emphasis on that one, as if they were trying to make it like the next Pokemon almost in America. That's the way I felt. I don't know. I was a little like off age for it, but yeah. Did you remember Shaman King, Josh? Like the original push in the 2000s?
Yeah, over on the Fox box.
Yes, because they had a 4 kids adaptation. I don't know if it had any weird things. They had like 3 Game Boy Advance, I should say. But yeah, they had like 3 Game Boy Advance. I'm sure they had more in Japan, but they had like 3 Game Boy Advance games. Um, and honestly, that's all I remember. Oh, there was a GameCube game,
uh, in
right?
Japan there was a GameCube. Yes, in America it
Oh,
was a PlayStation 2. It was
okay,
PlayStation
that's
2.
probably what I'm
Yeah.
thinking then. That's probably what I'm
Yep.
thinking about then. Because I know for a fact I had a console game. I think I still have it, like sealed. Is that worth anything? But I still have it.
Maybe it is
I
Andrew.
never actually played it. I never actually played it. But it's funny because I'm like, oh shoot! Like I remember like that. I remember that series. I tried to get into it. Did it? I remember like it was like one of those series. I remember I used to always. This is probably gonna upset you as a big Shaman King fan, but I used to always confuse it with Zatch Bell.
Yeah, I've heard that many times, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's like, but that's okay to be like, there's a series that's like, you don't always have to be the top tier. You know what I mean? Like you can be under the radar, but you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. You know, coming in, still making the top list, but it's like, oh yeah, I remember these things. That's fine, because it also helps like when doing things on the internet, because the 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 amount of like interactions and everything else is a little bit lower. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to
Yeah.
constantly be chasing high numbers or anything. It's more of like that passion project, and that's kind of cool too, because it's like, oh yeah, I remember those things. And like even like when the Netflix series came out a little while ago, a couple years ago, for the remake of Shaman King, it was a lot of
I
people
didn't
just
know there
like,
was a remake of Shaman
yeah,
King until I
yep,
saw your thing.
yeah, so they made one, and it was like, and a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, I remember that, and you can just like bank on nostalgia of like saying, oh yeah, I watched that, was on TV, but then I missed one, like there was a football game and it never aired, so I never saw the ending. It's like, okay, well, here's the series where it came through, which the real problem with Shaman King though is always it is plagued with like cancellations and false endings and having magazines go out of business and hiatuses that take a really long time. So it's like one of those things where it's a series that if you follow along, there's so many points where you could just easily have fallen off. You know what I mean? Like, and you say, "Oh, and I never went back to it." So it's one of those things that's really interesting to always like hear people talk about it, because it's always like, "Oh, if you're speaking like, oh yeah, I watched it on the Fox box, when it was on TV or something." It's like, yeah, but then I totally didn't. I changed channels and I never went back. It's just like a really easy answer that I hear sometimes for it.
Yeah, I think I caught it a few times on TV. I also bought a couple. It was during my buy everything phase, so I definitely had a lot of manga. But yeah, I don't know if I remember it flew under the radar for me. There was a lot of other like for kidsy type. Maybe they were all for kids. I don't remember. Like the One Piece the One Piece adaptation was coming out around that time.
Yep.
Some other stuff that just like kind of just like I'm like I don't know how I feel about all this. And I was getting older too. I was just like I guess whatever. It's funny because when you mentioned Netflix, I was like, oh, that's a perfect segue. So is there a live action Shaman King? No, there isn't. To answer that
There isn't,
question,
no. But yeah, there is an anime on Netflix, which is the new remake, which stays more truthful to the manga, but it is a speed run of the series. So they went through it quickly. So if you want like, hey, a volume in 20 minutes, they were booking through it. So
it's
definitely
weird
not always
because
say,
like
everyone's taste for the amount of like, could have slowed down a little bit, but
yeah, because I'm looking at it now. It's like there's like a ton of volumes of the manga. And if it's true to the manga, then yeah, they have
Yeah.
if they're going to the end, then yeah, they have a lot to go through.
yeah, if you take 35 volumes and you say there's 52 episodes, you're pretty much, almost a volume, a volume an episode.
A volume and oh wow, a volume and a half, or I guess
But
2/3
yeah, I
of a
wanted
volume going the other way.
the Shaman King live action thing. It made me think because I wanted to talk about live action adaptations because like Llama Club, Llama Soft. I keep saying everything but its actual name.
Yes. So over the last couple months, I have been working on this project called LAMA Watch. So LAMA being LAMA for live action manga adaptations.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this in
So
our little chat so that Josh, look at this site. The site's freaking awesome. It's like go ahead and keep explaining it.
yeah, so it's I got really kind of annoyed when we're talking about like Netflix. I guess here's that segue. When you talk about Netflix, people always talk about like Netflix jail, right? Like,
Mhm.
hey, something's on this service that I didn't know existed. No one gave me any communication about like, hey, promoted to me saying like, hey, there's this thing that exists. And or even as much things an anime series get like locked into like Netflix jail or it's on Amazon Prime or something, and you're like, I don't have that service. I don't go over there and look for these things. It's not on Crunchyroll. It doesn't exist. Live action adaptations of manga series are like even worse than whatever you could say happened to like Netflix jail. And I was like, there's these series that just keep coming out and no one talks about them. Nobody knows they exist. There's nobody writing articles about them. It just gets thrown into the wind. I was like, I can't. I just so frustrating. So I'm like, okay, I need to just like make a website and a database that just keeps track of everything that is currently streaming on whatever random service may exist out there, and put them all in there and provide a options where you can say like, okay, just show me what's currently streaming, which magazines these things came from, sort and filter by like, hey, I only have, Amazon Prime. Just show me what's, currently on the Amazon that I could just go and watch right now, and know that these are series that were based off of manga series, whether it's a movie or a TV series or a TV special. So I just said, okay, I'm building this crazy database. So it will launch next week. So that way I can just get something out in the world, it is LAMA Watch. So LAMA dot watch. That's the
Everyone needs to
URL.
go watch the. Everyone needs to go watch the City Hunter movie, which is apparently on Prime. I know it's the
Yes.
first entry, but that's what I didn't know that was on Prime.
Right. And that's what I was like going through. Was like, oh, there, because when I was first building this, I was like, okay, how, like, I guess here's the question, like, what would be your initial guess? How many series, like, in, movies or live action, adaptations are currently available streaming? Like, what would be your guess of number of, like, how many currently, if you was to take a guess?
See, I wouldn't think there's like any of the, especially like there's a lot of drama series you have listed here, and I'm like, surely those are in streaming. Like when Drama Fever, is that what that site was called?
Yep.
When some of these other like drama centric streaming services disappeared, it's like surely those shows just disappeared into the ether. Like just looking here, Rookies is on like I'm like when I saw them like surely that's in Japan only Netflix. But no, I looked it up and I'm like, oh shoot, does this mean I could delete my fan subs that are like 30 years old, like 240p, maybe? But
Yeah,
but I'm like,
when I was any other guesses, like how many? Because that's what I was thinking. It was like the same thing. It was like, oh, there's probably only a handful, right? So when I
yeah,
was building
exactly.
this,
I
I
think
was
there's
like,
only a few.
yeah, there's gonna be a few. It's like, okay, maybe, when I was going through, it was like, okay, maybe there's like somewhere 30 to maybe 50, it's like at most. Because it was like, okay, yeah, there's like your big ones. So it was like, oh yeah, there was that Death Note, Netflix movie from a while ago.
Oh,
They
everyone's
had that,
favorite.
yeah, they had the, like, there was like, oh yeah, there was those Attack on Titan, there was a handful of Death Note ones, it's like, okay, yeah, there's probably a handful, it's like, and a couple other ones I just kind of like don't remember. It was like, okay, so 30, 50. And I've currently made it up to 291 currently
My
streaming.
my high guess would have been 300.
Yeah, and it was like, it's so many, and it was like, each time I go through, it was like, oh, I didn't realize that was out there. I just kind of assumed, it's like, oh, there's not that many, but it starts going down to like, oh, what different weird services that these may be on, and everything for it. So it's like there's quite a bit like that is, especially in English, available right now that you could stream.
So it's funny because like my first thing I started doing is like I'm like, how extensive is this? Because like I remember like, oh, Sailor Moon's big. Is the Sailor Moon like series gonna be on here? But it's not. And then I was like, what about the Cutie Honey series and movie? And they're not. And I'm like, okay. So those are kind of like, whatever, it's not ready yet. But then I'm like, what about weird stuff like the Fist of the North Star movie, but it's American? Like, does that still count?
That would
Is
be
the Guyver on here?
Guyver, yes, Guyver is on there. Yes.
Okay, Guyver is on here.
Yeah, so like my rule is like the first thing that was created needed to be a manga series, right?
Mhm.
So if it was a manga first, then it counts. If it was like based off a novel, that doesn't count. If it was based off an anime and there happened to be a manga, doesn't count. It's like manga needs to be the first thing
Okay.
created. And then if it is, I'm putting it on here. But that's where it's also like going through like sorting by like magazine as well, because I was like, while I'm going through all these things and like doing little write-ups on, each one of them, it's to say, so for example, let's go, like, we take like the City Hunter, right? So it's like, if you go to City Hunter, it's like, okay, hey, here's the City Hunter, here's all the other adaptations, that exist. So in case you ever need to find anything, and you say like, oh, City Hunter was in Weekly Shonen Jump, so you could sort by everything that's in Weekly Shonen Jump as like a jumping off point for anything else that you might say. So even if you didn't know where these series were actually based off of, you was like, cool, let me just see everything that was in Weekly Shonen Jump, so you could like say, oh yeah, there was the Rookies. Oh yeah, there was that Hikaru no Go Chinese live action adaptation.
Wait, there was a Hikaru no Go adaptation? Wow.
Yes, there was. And I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. It's like 36 episodes that you can watch on Amazon Prime.
Oh shit.
Wow. Okay.
Wait,
Yeah,
is there
so
a
that's
new
what-
Boys Over Flowers TV series? Or is this like What is this?
I feel like
There's
Boys Over
a
Flowers
lot-
just
Someone-
keeps getting like drama and live action adaptations.
Well, yeah, let's say like it's funny because like I'm looking at this thing about like what about the Taiwanese version? You have it listed here, Meteor Rain, Meteor Garden. Josh, what's your favorite live action manga adaptation?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Based
So,
on
Is that
I
a
don't-
All You
manga?
Need Is Kill.
It is All You Need Is Kill, but it's based off a novel, so I don't have it included. But it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it is a really good. That's a really good movie.
Wait, but I think everything I mentioned that's missing, by the way, that you could jot those down. I think they were all manga. Actually, I'm not too sure about Sailor Moon, but I know that Cutie Honey was manga first, and I know that Fist of the North Star is manga first too.
Yes,
Right?
but
Yeah.
it's not streaming somewhere, so I don't have it included. So
Is
you
it
know what I
not
mean?
streaming?
As far as I can tell, I have to go back through.
Hold on.
Again, it's a
Fist,
living database.
where
But, you know,
to watch Fist of the... Sorry, I love that movie, and I'm
Yeah.
like the only person who ever talks about it because Dante Bosco's in it, and I'm like, if any Dante Bosco fans out there, they have to watch Fist of the North Star because he's basically playing Rufio again. Where to watch Fist of the North Star, American, and it has like a surprisingly star-studded cast. I think like one of the McDowells plays like plays his master or whatever, Ken's master. They call him Ken though. So if you're one of those people who like it's Kenshiro, you're not gonna like that. You're not gonna like the movie. Oh my god, I can't. Yeah, I think you're right. It's not streaming anymore. Wait, no,
Yeah,
no. Hold on. Where to watch online? You can buy. Wait,
It'll tell you where you can
wait.
buy it too, Manuel.
No, it says Prime. Are they lying to me? Hold on.
so
Fist.
Keep
Sorry,
going, Andrew. Keep
He's
going.
doing
He does
everything
that.
for this.
trying to find anything on Amazon is such a pain in the butt. It's like it's so hard, which is also half my battle here. Was like trying to find the right keywords to try to find if it does exist. Is like
Not gonna lie to. LAMA Watch is a cool thing, but it sounds like a nightmare to keep track of.
yeah, that's why I was like it took me a while just to go through this because like as I was doing like every night I was like be putting in like 3 to 4 series, and if you saw that like it's almost up to 300 now. It's like it's been going for a little while here of just like adding things in and just going down these weird rabbit holes of like saying like okay, even if I found the series is based off a manga, that's like okay, wait a minute, what magazine was this coming from? Wait, how many TV specials exist? Like cross-referencing all these other things because like for example when you mentioned Rookies, like I watched that on Netflix. I really enjoyed it because I never read the manga and I was like great, the live action exists, you can watch it. And I like watch all of it on Netflix until you get to the end and you're like wait a minute, the story stopped. It's like oh yeah, there's also a live action movie that continues the story and finishes it. That's not on Netflix. I'm like gosh darn it. It's like
That's ridiculous.
so that's why I was like when I was going through and adding all these database entries, it's like okay, anyone who's like before you start this thing, I want you to know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing all the quick research for you so you can say like wait a minute, I'm going to watch this but I'm never going to get the ending until someone else licenses it. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like okay, hey, it's really good. Or like when you say Boys Over Flowers, there's like so many other weird adaptations. You're like wait a minute, am I on the right path? You know, you don't want to like suddenly start watching something. You're like, oh, wait a minute, it changed languages. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I try to like
Change language.
just kind of like guide you in the right path of saying like, here's what you need to do. You know, so you don't have to dig around the rest of the internet to try to figure out each one of these ones for like what it is. Because I kind of like live action adaptations because it's like the speed running of the manga series. You know, they like condense it down as much as they can to try to like build it into a TV show, just like you would for an anime. But they can also adapt it differently and make it in kind of like cool and unique ways. Like I always liked the GTO live action, like the original one for that, because
Mhm.
you take a classroom of characters and but you need to condense it down to a TV series. So you take the problems of multiple characters that was in the original manga and you combine them into a single student. So like they combined like 3 different students into a single student that has all these different problems. So that way they can like work through an adaptation a lot faster, which is kind of interesting just to see like what changes they'll make. But you still get the core of the story in a live action adaptation. So I always thought that was always
I didn't know there was
cool
an
way to do it.
Oshinoko series already. It's the movie. What the fuck is this? Oshinoko.
Yes.
When this
It's on Amazon Prime and thus has zero promotion for it. It almost actually came out like fairly quickly right after it was airing in Japan.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's out there on Amazon Prime.
Well, I know there was a big push on Amazon's part to get Prime like big in Japan. So I think getting all these series available in English was just like almost an accidental what's the
Side effect?
we benefited from like that random Amazon's push into Japan, I think. Because I have noticed there's a lot of good stuff on there. Oh, Shinoko, though. That's freaking weird. You have my favorite on here. You have a Devilman. Well, Devilman is one of my favorites too, but I think that movie is pretty bad. But you have Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yes, I will. It doesn't need to be a faithful adaptation. It just needs to be an adaptation.
I've gone on record before that I don't think Dragon Ball Evolution is a terrible movie. Whether or not it's a terrible Dragon Ball adaptation is a whole different discussion to have. But I don't think it's a bad. Okay, it is a pretty bad movie, but it isn't as bad as people make it out to be. I'm like, I don't know. I've watched Dragon Ball Evolution many times in my life, and I never
How many of them
felt
are
like I
sober,
wasted.
Manuel?
I mean, let's not get into that. But I've watched it, and I'm like, I don't feel like I wasted my life. Like I don't feel like that time was wasted. You know what I mean? I've watched many another thing where I'm like, oh my god, I could watch this in double speed, and like I feel like it'd still be moving too slow or something like that. But yeah.
It's interesting. It's like even for Dragon Ball Evolution, you would say like, okay, yeah, it's not like your prime, television, you're going to be watching here, but even like it's not even on most streaming services. You have to like actually dig to try to find it. Like it's not even on Amazon Prime. You can only buy and rent it through there. It's like that's the kind of stuff that you would expect to be like, okay, this should be streaming on Tubi TV all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it should always be something that's out there. But it's like, oh no, there's quite a few of these series. You're like, wait a minute, shouldn't that be more accessible? And strangely, it's not.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised how much the DVD cost. When I bought it on DVD, and I remember like I think that Amazon was just different back then the way it operated. Like you would be able to buy a ton of DVDs for a penny. Like I don't know what the sellers were like going for. Maybe they were just boosting their like their metrics or whatever. But like I bought mine for a penny, and I remember shipping back then was $2.99 flat rate for DVDs. So I got my my copy of Dragon Ball Evolution, which I think I still have. Like out of everything I've gotten rid of, I'm keeping my copy of Dragon Ball Evolution. I even have it on UMD, the PSP movie format. I saw it. I saw it in a bin at a convention, not even that long ago, like in 2020 or 2022 or something like that. One of the post-pandemic conventions. I was like, oh shoot, it's Dragon Ball Evolution on UMD for like $3, I think, and I bought it. but yeah, I'm like I paid $3 for it, and I feel like I got more than my money's worth. It's a good movie. Have you seen it? Have you seen it, Andrew? Like, have you actually watched it?
There was a riff tracks of it, wasn't there? I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I think there was. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen mostly through a riff tracks, if I recall.
Okay. Have you seen it, Josh? I forget. I know we've had this discussion before, but I can't remember if I'm still the only one who's actually seen it.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't seen it.
We all gotta have a freaking Dragon Ball Evolution like watch party one day with my like 2006 or 8 DVD that cost me a penny and then $2.99 shipping, because like don't get me wrong. Once again, I'm not saying it's the best movie ever. Everyone's gonna. First of all, I do think you will enjoy it because it's kind of stupid, it's kind of silly, and it's like it's low budget. Okay, it's weirdly not quite low budget. They also have a semi-star-studded cast here and there, but
it's high budget, low brow. I think that's the difference.
And Piccolo looks like I don't know what they were doing with Piccolo's design in that movie. But one of the big problems with that movie, and I've had this rant many a times, and I know it's not faithful to it either. I'm not going to say it is, but like one of my biggest problems with Dragon Ball Evolution, especially when they released it, and I think it's only compounded since then, is I get people who are still because I don't think Dragon Ball is as popular as Dragon Ball Z.
Right. Yep.
And I remember when the movie came out, and even still to this day, people seem confused why Piccolo's a villain at all. They're all like, Piccolo's not a villain. Why Dragon Ball Evolution to make him a villain? And I'm like, do you guys know Dragon Ball? do you not know Dragon Ball? Like, I'm just confused. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is the perfect Piccolo that we've ever, that's ever been brought to screen, or that it does anything good. Of like, when did Piccolo get introduced in Dragon Ball? Like in that one of those tournament arcs. This isn't quite like it's still the characterization is still a little off. But I'm like, yes, it's like Piccolo. Just like every other villain that joins Goku later on. It's like as if it's almost as if they put the villain Vegeta arc. If they put that in Dragon Ball original, everybody would be shocked if they made a movie adaptation where he was a villain. I'm like, yes. It's like there was points where they fought too. I don't know. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good movie, and I always think it's funny because I'm one of those people where it's like it's all right, and then I find out everyone hates it, and I'm like, oh really? It's like I didn't know that. Like I saw it. I thought it was cool. Like and I'm like, have you seen it? And no one has seen it. How do you even know it's like? Don't get me wrong. I will guarantee you it's not accurate. But how do you know it's not accurate?
Because of everyone just went off and like either saw like the Simpsons or somebody who like reviewed it probably.
Yeah, but see that brings up a very good point. Like I've talked about that before about internet reviewers. I feel like, and there's a whole argument about that, where like, and I think that discourse is finally spilled over to the commentary community as well. It's all like, oh, maybe some of these early internet reviewers have kind of like spoiled certain things in media. Like I know this is really off topic, but like Quest 64 used to be like one of the most hated video games of all time, and now people are starting to be like, if you look it up on YouTube now, there's a ton of videos that came out within the past 2 years just like, this is actually a hidden classic, and I'm like, okay, it's not that at all, but it's also not bad.
I just think the pendulum likes to swing both ways sometimes. Like people end up hating something, then people look at it with less critical eyes later and say, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good, when maybe it's somewhere in the middle, and there are always just going to be people who love or hate something.
And like it's funny because like Dragon Ball Evolution is the perfect example, because I think there's all this talk on the production end that Akira Toriyama, and it's funny because this is actually the case in a lot of other American adaptations, where like I think they wanted him to be involved, but like he didn't want to be involved. And this is like before, like, what's the current Dragon Ball series? This is before all that stuff came back.
Super and then Daima.
Yeah, like this is before. I think if I'm not mistaken, didn't part of the reason he did Super was because like shit like Evolution, where I'm like,
yes, yeah, Super came in after. Well, maybe not necessarily because of it, but it was more of a, hey, there's still a lot of money in Dragon Ball, so maybe let's make something more, but something. But I always found it, Evolution.
Because I think I mean. I think he's done very polite answers about it, but of course people have asked him about it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like, it was terrible, like, it's not canon, blah blah blah. And I'm like, but the production company wanted you involved, but you're like, yeah, it's fine, you can do what you guys do what you want. And I'm like, at that point, it's like, and what they want, like, I don't know. Like, there was a lot of things wrong with it. There's a lot of things that are still fine with it. I actually like that they made it like a teen drama-y romance, because I would have hated it even more if they got like Jake Lloyd or someone who I think Jake Lloyd was too old already by that point, but they got like Kid Goku, or you know what I'm trying to say, like actual Kid Goku. But I don't know. If you watch Fist of North Star though, to get back to the actual good adaptation, that's just a good movie. That's just a good movie. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Fist of North Star, like great cast, great everything. And it's actually a decent adaptation, except that they call him Ken and not Kenshiro, which is also what the anime did at the time. So
I think that's at least a common enough nickname for Kenshiro, though. It's just the shortage of the Ken, but then you generally add a suffix to it.
I remember like I'm such a fucking nerd that I remember like in some of the early issues of Animerica, there was all this talk about people used to complain about back then for bad localization. People like, oh my god, the Fist North Star dub is so terrible because they call him Ken and not Kenshiro. And I'm like, huh? Like, does that really matter? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got off topic.
Yeah,
But
you got
live
off topic
action,
while
live
you
action.
defended Dragon Ball Evolution there.
Yeah, like okay, it's if you want to talk about bad live action adaptations, I think the Netflix Death Note is terrible.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, is that a hot take?
No, I don't think so.
Not a hot take.
Yeah, I think it's terrible. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the original Death Note live actions. They're fine. I saw the first one in theaters. I might have saw them all in theaters. I don't remember. I definitely saw the L one, I think, in theaters. But yeah, I mean, live action adaptations are what they are. I remember like I used to I still kind of hate the Battle Royale live action adaptation. I know that's based on a novel, so it's not like Llama Soft worthy. I mean, I keep saying
LAMA
Llama Soft. It's
Watch.
called Llama Soft. Llama Soft. Like you're a software company now. Just live with it. But yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with that one too because I'm like Battle Royale. I get that everyone loves the movie, but it's a pretty unfaithful adaptation of the novel, and I'm like, that was good. And it's funny because like a lot of the other like things that people say always come up with like, oh, it's ripping off Battle Royale. It's ripping off like the concept, which obviously Battle Royale didn't create, but But I'm like, it's funny because most of the other ones where it's like a dystopia where like there's multiple of these games going on at the same time, that's what Battle Royale had, but they cut that out of the fucking movie. They left it all in the background. But anyway.
Sorry,
Huh?
can I add in one live action adaptation that I don't like because of the parts where it cuts corners with canon and really destroys a character?
What?
I think I already told this to Andrew because I watched it with him, but the Bakuman adaptation. Because
Wait, Bakuman has a thing?
yes, it has a live action movie.
Really?
And yeah, they make is it 18 Nijima? Like the crow artist. They make him into the villain of that, and it's like he was their biggest supporter. He's not going to go show up there and taunt. If he's going to do anything, he's going to be there. He's going to be on the line drawing, helping them.
It's funny because like, hold on, I'm trying to. Okay, it is called Honey and Clover. So there's a thing called Honey and Clover. I'm not sure if it's a manga first. Shoujo, is it shoujo? Doesn't matter. But it's Honey and Clover. I fucking love the drama adaptation. And I watched that on its own. I knew nothing about it being an anime. This is back when I was like, this is like the mid 2000s when it was new. It just come out. 'Cause I remember I was downloading each episode as it came out, and I used to go to this fan sub site. I forgot what the hell they were called, but it was called like Drama Subs or something like that. And I used to download every freaking episode they had, and I would watch most of them. Like I obviously didn't have that much time. I remember like I had I had a day job or whatever, and I would put them on my PSP and I would watch them to and from work and during my breaks and whatever. But I remember watching it. I'm like, oh man, this is such a great show. And then I watched the anime, and like one of the main characters is like this girl who kind of like it's this artsy type thing where she's kind of like a lot of people's like muse, so to speak. If you've ever seen it, I'm really downplaying the whole plot here, but in the freaking anime, she's like literally well, she's not like actually young, but she's like a tiny little girl, the most annoying character I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that Honey and Clover live action adaptation is considered bad to like the fans who are of Honey and Clover because it is so different. It is so drastically different. Like I think the anime is unwatchable. Sorry if you're a Honey and Clover fan, but that's my that's my rant. It reminded me of that because going on about the character. Josh, do you have a live action adaptation you hate?
Shoot, I was going for like one that I really liked, one that I dislike, and like I don't know. There were some that were like released by Japan that just kind of felt a little mid, kind of like Full Metal Alchemist live actions, or like even the Bleach live
Yeah.
action.
Well, some of those, I'm not sure if those in particular, some of them are direct to video, which I think it's lost on like, lost on us sometimes. I doubt that one is because it's Full Metal Alchemist. But every so often it's like, oh, this one's terrible. And I'm like, well, it was direct to video. You kind of, okay, I don't think this was direct to video. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it now. I'm like, this is probably theatrical.
Actually, but for ones I really
Yeah,
like,
tell.
I would kind of agree. Like the Full Metal Alchemist ones were like a little bit. You can condense things so much that you just don't have any meaning to, like, you know what I mean? Like if you focus in on something a little bit more. But yeah, I think that those were a little bit rough. The one I would say that I watched that was pretty severely underwhelming was the Tokyo Revengers live action movie.
Really?
Because I really
I
like
like
the
that
anime.
one.
I like the anime. I'm like, anime great. I'm like, this is great. But the live action, I'm like, man, these are not middle schoolers. These guys all look like they're in their mid-20s, and it's just not working for me here.
That's very common. Like I talked about that Death Note movie earlier, but like I can't remember his name, the main actor from that one, and he was in Battle Royale also. And I thought he was a little too old in Battle. I don't know how old that guy actually is. Maybe he was the perfect age in Battle Royale. But by the time Death Note live action came rolling around, that dude was not a high school kid.
Right.
He's like, and he's playing. He's playing. I forget what Kira's like. Real name is Light. How did I forget
Yes,
that? But so yeah, Light, and I'm like, bro, you were too old for this role.
Yeah,
Um,
you're doing high school to like 20 is like, okay, I can work with that. But when you start doing like, you guys are middle schoolers, I'm like, no, you've got like a 20-year difference going here. It's not working out.
oh, now I'm just trying to remember for the Prince of Tennis adaptation that we watched how they looked, because I don't remember that. I remember liking that one, but they are also middle schoolers. But even in the manga, they were supposed to be high schoolers. They just never changed the design.
Yeah, but like a lot of the adaptations, like they will just sometimes just change it to like meet the actors,
Mhm.
which is like kind of convenient. Since this website took so long to build, like there was a couple things that like dropped off from that was streaming and is no longer streaming. One of them was the I'm blanking up the Hell Teacher Nube, which is getting an anime this summer, I believe. So for the live action, they just like moved everybody up to high school, so that to make it easier to cast. So even if it wasn't a good adaptation, they're just like saying, okay, well, let's just make a change to like move the time period for where the characters are, condense things down, so that way we can play to our strengths, and that's always like super helpful.
by the way, I looked at the actors, dude. It's Tatsuya Fujiwara.
Mhm.
He was only 18 in Battle Royale. He was 23 in Death Note. But I'm like, I'm sorry that dude just like whatever Ralph Macchio has, where he always looks younger than like way younger than he really is. I just think this dude has the opposite. Where it's all like he can always play someone 10 years older. I think because he was in Battle Royale. I'm like, you could have easily played a teacher, and I wouldn't have questioned it. I mean, just do your hair differently. Like obviously it's a hair thing and an outfit thing, but just put on a suit, like pull your hair, like cut your hair a little like differently, and there you go. I would not have questioned it. But anyway. So yeah, if anyone would be like, "Oh, that dude is not that old," I don't know. He just does to me. I don't know. A lot of times these movies cast, and I think this is also lost to some people. These movies cast like Johnny's like idols in the roles. And even though there are young Johnny's people, obviously, they usually cast the famous ones, and the famous ones are usually already the well-established ones that are in their 20s. So that's why, by the way, this guy, Tatsuya Fujiwara, is not a Johnny's guy. But so that's why a lot of times you get like these high schoolers who are in their 20s already. You get like Stranger Things season 5, high school kids. So yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
are they even high school in Stranger Things, or are they still in middle school? But anyway, that's neither here nor
They
there.
moved to high school, and I believe season 4.
Talk about live action
Yeah,
manga adaptation. Actually, isn't there a Stranger Things manga? I made that as a joke, but like I think there is, isn't there?
By now, yes,
there was
probably.
like a webtoon or something. I think there was like a webtoon.
Yeah, I think it came out. Yeah, I think it came, obviously it's post show, but like yeah, but to say it's an adaptation is incorrect though. Oh my everything froze. Oh no. You guys still hear me?
We can still hear you.
Okay, good. My like browser froze. I can't tell if it's just like okay, as long as I'm still here. Anyways,
You're digging too deep into the internet here.
I know exactly. It's like, oh man, he's going down the Dragon Ball evolution like rabbit hole again. Not now, Manuel. Not now. Now you're gonna start talking about that weird like was it Korean version of Dragon Ball? The was it Korean? I don't forget, but there was a live action Dragon Ball before it. It was a movie, and I remember like I used to only watch it because the Spanish channels would always show it like around me, like in the LA area when I was a kid. And I remember like I just remember like going through like the previews like on cable or whatever, and it was like going to whatever like Univision or what the channel was, and then be all like Goku and Ella Amiga Buma, whatever. Like, oh shit, that's Dragon Ball! And I was just so excited, and I'm like, oh shit, this is live action. It's weird. Movie is that Dragon Ball movie original? I want to
Korean?
know what country it is before I say. Yeah, is it Korean? Before I say anything
Oh.
weird, like.
I thought
feel
you
like
knew
there's
it
a
was Korean.
I think it's probably a Hong Kong adaptation.
Yeah, exactly. It might be Hong Kong, but oh, it is South Korea. Thank God. Okay, because I have seen it in its original language, but I was also very young. I just don't want to sound like one of those people like you know. I'm like I think it was Korean. I didn't know the language at all, but like how one of the preview pictures has what's Yamcha's little cat thing? I forget the thing's name. The transforming thing, it has it's played by a plush, and I like how like in the picture that they have on IMDb it has a cigarette in its mouth, and I'm like, when did it smoke?
Puar? I don't know how to pronounce it. Puar.
Is that his name? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, his little cat thing. What happened to that? I don't remember.
It could have been just another character Toriyama forgot. I don't watch enough to know.
Disappeared. This is it's funny because if you ever add the Sailor Moon live action, I remember like the drama adaptation. I remember watching that one, and I remember like that was another show that I followed religiously on that drama sub site, and they would put things up like almost as soon as like a week after they'd appear, and they even put up the preview episode, like episode 0. And I watched that one, and I'll never forget it because they show the scene where what's her face meets Luna for the first time.
Usagi.
Usagi. Yeah, Usagi meets Luna for the first time, and they literally just throw a plush at her. Like when you watch it now, the plush drops from the sky, but in the behind the scenes, they just threw it, and it just lands on her, and she reacts. She's like, ah! And then the cat starts talking. And in the freaking show, in this making of episode 0, they're like, oh, don't worry, viewers, that's gonna be replaced by CG. And those who've already seen it already know where this is going. But then, like the next week when they show the first episode and I watch it, they did not replace that with CG. I don't know if that was a joke that got mistranslated, it got translated weird, but they just kept the plush, and it was always a plush. Every so often they would change it when it would walk around or something, but it was just a plush. It was just like, wow. I don't know. Like I said, like I can go on and on about live action anime adaptations. I freaking have. I used to live for them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Josh, come to life. You sound like you're dying over there. Whenever you talk.
I know it was just really draining from the car ride over here, and I really don't like that there was like this blockade, and I was like making great on time, and just
It's.
backs up
I mean, it's
everything.
not fun, but yeah, just. I don't know. Think about Dragon Ball Evolution and how great of a movie. Like, go watch Dragon Ball Evolution afterwards. You'll feel great.
yeah.
I was gonna say that the movie Another was like probably a really terrible adaptation.
Another is that the one based on the based on the
Yeah,
anime?
it's based on the anime of it. It's actually pretty bad.
I saw the anime recently.
Oh yeah, you were
Yeah,
watching
it's just a
were you
little
watching for
one.
a panel or something?
I watched it because somebody remember when I went crazy when I watched that violent anime, the one with the head in the bag.
Oh, School Days.
Yeah, when I finished watching School Days, people kept throwing recommendations of other animes at me, and Another was another one. Wait, you know what I'm saying? That came out weird. Another was one of the others that people were like, oh, if you like School Days, which by the way is a wild thing to say. If you like School Days, you're like Another, which I don't know if that's right or wrong, but
I've heard that. Like I've heard that exact. Like, hey, I think the Another like was made just so they could only be recommended through other things you've watched. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like, because you've watched this, you should watch this. Like, I feel like that was the series and movie that just constantly was
Oh my
on
God.
the promotional sides.
I watched this in theaters. I didn't know what the fuck was going on during it, and I remember like it's one of those things I watched and I just like it, obviously I forgot about it to this second, but I watched this in theaters when it came out. There was I think it was the LA Independent or whatever it's called. There was a local theater. Well, it's not too local to me, but like they would show a lot of like these like one-off type movies. And because it's by Little Tokyo, well, it was by Little Tokyo. They would show a lot of like the anime movies when they would release them. And I remember watching this one there, and I'm just like, oh yeah. I remember watching it like, what the hell is this movie?
And now you know what it is.
Yeah, and I love that when I watched the anime, it didn't click. Like it didn't click that like Manuel, you've seen this already. It wasn't until I watched like actual clips, I'm like, oh, this is that weird movie, and I also think I fell asleep during part of it. But I'm like, oh, this is that weird movie that you watched that one time. I don't know. Is that streaming anywhere? I kind of want to watch it again. Is that a manga? Sorry.
I forget.
Well, I'm gonna add this to the short list for our manga podcast.
Didn't Discotech license that again? I think.
I have a love-hate relationship with Discotech.
Yes.
Like
Discotech licensed it. I have to catch back up on the DVD side of things, which was a little bit easier because I just have to like go back through the list of things for that. But yes, I just don't remember if it was based off of. Was it originally based off a novel? That's what I have to remember.
What, another?
Yeah, I think it was.
the. Oh, you're right. Actually.
I think.
Oh
it
no,
was.
no.
But,
The manga came first. Sorry, I'm looking at the manga came first.
Nope. Novel.
Nope.
Oh, you're right. It is a novel first. I can't freaking
Novel
read.
was 2009. Manga was so that's where when I was going down like these rabbit holes. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Yes, I totally know there's a manga. I know there's an anime, but like, what came first? And it's like, oh no, technically it was based off their. The novelist probably worked really hard with the manga adaptation for it, but it's like technically it was a novel first.
Wait. They do serial novels in Japan? How did I learn about this now? What the hell? It's like a manga. There's a novel magazine? Yasai Jidai?
Manuel's learning so much today.
Sorry, I'm like... Yeah,
Hey,
but
now,
like...
Yeah, now you understand like the rabbit holes I'm going down for the same thing. It's like, wait a minute, okay, like I have no idea what this, exists. It's like, yeah, I guess there is.
I was tripping up over the name because like I even put it into Google to make sure. I'm like, doesn't that just mean vegetables? But it does, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's what they decided to call it. But yeah, I didn't know that they did. I remember like back in the day, like they used to do like the phone novels. I don't know if you remember that. That was like a revolution. It even took the U.S. by storm for a hot minute, where it's all like, oh, you can subscribe and get like these serialized novels. By the way, fun fact, Manuel in his youth was like a published author. I think I've mentioned this in passing before. I submitted a short story to like, gosh, what the fuck was that magazine called? Which is long defunct, but it's one of those like not Weird Tales, but one of those type magazines. It was one of the ones that still existed. Like it used to look like Reader's Digest. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like the like a TV guide. And you would buy them like like I think only Borders carried them at the time. But I submitted the story and then they took it, gave me like $30 for it. I'm sure I got screwed, and I'm sure even if I found that story, I'd probably cite all my rights away. But I didn't realize stuff like that exists in Japan. That's crazy. It's like something exists in the world that exists in Japan too. Crazy. I don't know. I'm just impressed by this whole collection of live action adaptations. It's like going through this site has really like gotten me like thinking about all these old things again. I'm freaking upset that Rookies isn't all available online though.
It's really good. I enjoyed what it is, what they did put out. So it's like So it's like, hey, I don't have to read through that 23 volumes. I can just power through this TV series, get 11 episodes, and be like, hey, I can go for just some good old baseball Shonen Jump action here.
Yeah,
with a
I do panels on like where I covered like the decades of like J-pop, and I did one in the 2000s, and that panel was very nostalgic for me because almost all the way I do them is I take a year and I'll pick a song from like the year that was like big in Japan, and because Japan is the way Japan is, those songs are almost always like a theme song from a movie or from a drama
Yep.
typically. Um, and half the time I'd pick one and I'm like, oh shit, this is the like I don't even need to pick it. I just see it. I'm like, oh, I know that because that's from the show. And and I remember like half of that panel would be like, oh, by the way, go watch the drama. And Rookies is on there too because what the hell is that song by Green? Kiseki. Kiseki.
Yes.
Yes. Which Andrew WK? Yes, that Andrew WK did an English cover of.
Yeah, it's also really fun because like that song, like I had listened to that song, prior to watching Rookies. I was like, oh, that's this song. Okay, I'm making this connection.
Yeah.
But they also use it like as the instrumental throughout the entire series.
Yes.
So like
yes!
throughout the entire while watching, I'm like, oh yeah, we hitting the beats here, going listen to it. It's like, yeah, this is really good. So it's like, yeah, that's definitely. It's always fun for that. It's like, oh, I knew this song before I watched the thing. Now it's all coming full circle.
I thought I was going to tell a story about the song, and then I refreshed the page for LAMA Watch, and like I don't know how I got on this other page, but there's a drama there's something he's expecting. Is that Mpreg? What?
Yeah.
Okay, Manuel, before you get on the story, we are getting about to time, so you might want to start wrapping up.
Mpreg, this is an Mpreg show. He's expecting. What is this?
There's like, yeah, there's also like a ton of like adaptations of like BL series and a whole bunch of other things that like if you're just going in deep into manga, it's like outside of just your standard shonen stuff, it's like there's a lot of things out there which you wouldn't expect is like, oh, this is streaming, these are things I knew nothing about. So yeah, there's a lot.
When a successful ad executive who's got it all figured out becomes pregnant, he's forced to confront social inequities he never considered before. That's the Netflix premise. Also, real fast, the episode 1 is description is perfect too. Kentaro Hiyama attributes his success to his ability to plan out every aspect of his life. But then something completely unexpected happens. Yes, I think so. That's putting it lightly. Get pregnant. I guess I'll watch and find out. Oh shit! It's starting. Ah, damn you, Netflix! Sorry, the music started playing really loud in my ear. I hate that Netflix on auto. I was looking at it too long. Netflix like, oh, you want to watch this?
All right.
Okay, so real fast, just to tell the Kiseki story, is I mentioned this in the panels, but I think I don't mention it all the time. Is like the way I learned about Kiseki and eventually Rookies is because I was taking Japanese like in college one of the times, and I had this conversation class, and I really liked the girl who was like my conversation partner, and we were just talking afterwards, and she was all like, "Oh, do you listen to Japanese music?" We started joining bands back and forth. She's like, "You should listen to Green," and I remember I went to go look up Green, and by the way, Green has a lot of other great songs, not just Kiseki. And I was just like, I was so enamored with Green, and then I watched Rookies. I forgot all about the girl. I fell in love with Green and Rookies. Yeah, I fell in love with Green and Rookies instead. I'm like, I ended up just like, did not even really like talk to her much about that afterwards. I remember she's like, "Did you like it?" "Oh yeah, I loved it, but I'm actually gonna watch it right now and not talk to you during this break," kind of thing.
All right.
And then I wonder why I was single that semester. But anyway.
Andrew, do you have anything else you want to talk about as we wrap up?
No, I think it's been fun.
All right. Yeah, it's been a great time having you. Listening to you talk about your projects, your history with anime and manga. And I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Sorry, Josh, that you had a bad day. I almost broke out into that song, but I feel like that's too. Sorry, it's always one of those cliches where it's all. I fucking hate that song, by the way. But I just think about like whenever somebody loses on American Idol, do they always put it on the show? Or is that just like in the recaps? Like, well, you had I don't even know how that song goes. I just know that one line.
I think it's the recaps, but
Anyway, sorry. Josh will be back with more uh vigor, joie de vivre next week.
yeah.
And he'll be the one derailing us on the
So yeah. For upcoming stuff for A to J this week, gaming stream tomorrow, Kingdom Hearts 2, right? Or
Kingdom Hearts 2.
yeah.
Yeah. We might do another Thursday one after all, but who knows? It's up in the air because I know we're not going to do Kingdom Hearts next week because it's
Fanime.
the day before I leave to Fanime. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I leave like early, like crack of dawn the next morning. But yeah. And the next Tuesday is UPC, and I think next Tuesday is the last UPC of the month. Or actually, you might do one when no, it is the last one.
No, it's gonna be the last one of the month because I'm gonna be out for Anime Boston.
I'll
Golden
be out
Sunday
for
should be
sure,
back on
that's what I was
Sunday.
thinking. Yeah.
UPC will be back. Other Andrew will be here. He will be doing 3x3s with either me or Josh. We will work that over the week.
Yeah.
Since this is gonna be the last one on YouTube before Anime and Anime Boston, do you just want to go through your panels and the times?
Oh yeah, I'm doing 5 freaking panels. So on day 1, which is Friday. By the way, it's a Friday through Monday con, so it's a 4-day con. But day 1, I'm doing. So I have to scroll through to make sure. I'm doing an Aqua and Muse retrospective, with the homie Danny. That's at 2 to 3 p.m. Panel Room 2. That night, I'm doing Nothing But JAV. Yes, an 18+ panel about Japanese adult video. That's from 10:30 p.m. to midnight. Doing that one with Tiffany and Snacks. That one's gonna be wild, by the way. It's always a wild fun. Fun fact: I think it'll be the last time we'll do that panel. So, not because I don't like it, but just because that's how I am. Saturday, day 2, we're doing Go Away Boy, Japan's all-female Metal Revolution. That's Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. Doing that with Warren. The following day, Sunday, the day 3 of the con, doing Idol Timeline, 12 to 1:30 on Panel Room 2. And then the Untold History of J-Pop Before the 1980s at 4 to 5:30. I'm doing both of those solo. So yeah. Those 2 are solo and everything else is with the homies. I didn't realize Sunday's my lonely day. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it worked out that way.
Yeah, and if you're instead on the East Coast that weekend at Anime Boston, Saturday at 12 p.m., I am running Anime Connect, the UPZ stream, the panel, I guess, game show version of it at 12 p.m. in Hines 309 is where it's currently scheduled.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna like record all the panels so I can cut up little pieces and make like the most low rent video essays you've ever seen in your life.
Hey, but I enjoy those like video essays of, oh yeah, here's my time in paneling at a con.
So yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of that. But anyways, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew, for showing up. Thank you, Josh, for making it here on time, even though like you had a crazy quest to get here. And that's it.
Yeah. If you like this, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/A2JConnections. The link will be down below. Shout out to our patron Ed. Thank you for your support. Every dollar helps keep our website ad-free. Thank you, everyone, again for watching. Have a good time. We will see you next week. Bye.
Peace. Good one.